This is a very, very special day, a very important day, where we are unveiling the CIDP. We are not launching it, we are not commissioning it, we are just unveiling it. And it's for purposes of encouraging us to have a conversation in the content and to also talk about the implementation of the county integrated development plan. And I want to say the following in brief. And I'm grateful that the Speaker has alluded to the revenue that we are sharing between the national government and the county government. And so far, the Treasury is saying that the counties all over the Republic of Kenya are going to get, according to them, 391 billion shillings out of a 3 trillion budget. That speaks to their commitment to devolution. If the national government really believed in constitutional principles, one of them, which is in our founding or foundational principles in the Constitution, is devolution. And I think they stand to shame. I'm not afraid to say so. If, despite those foundational principles, spelled out clearly in the Constitution, they can only offer a meager sum of 391 billion shillings. I think the Council of Governors has set the tone of the conversation that we must have. That 391 billions also goes towards what is going to the county assemblies. And we must have that conversation as a nation if we have a commitment to devolution. If you look at that budget that is going to the counties or proposed allocation to the counties, and zero in what we have in the budget as CI account for development. Because a lot of times when we're talking about budgets, people talk about 7 billion, 8 billion coming to CI. But when that money is being disbursed, it is clear that the allocation for development for CI County is about 2 billion shillings, 2 billion odd shillings for the entire county to carry out the vision that we are trying to lay out in the county integrated plan. And that 2 billion shillings also includes a percentage which goes to the county assembly. This case is not unique to CI. It is the case everywhere in the Republic of Kenya, where the development budget is specified. And in CI, for this current financial year, we got 2 billion shillings for development. And when we are starting to talk about roads and other infrastructure, you're talking about hospitals, you're talking about water, you're talking about agriculture, you're talking about drugs. Then you begin to see what a challenge it is to carry out a development agenda in any county in the Republic of Kenya. And if you also want to understand the difficulties that we are having in implementing budgets and carrying out development in the counties, you ask yourself the question, why Bondo, Nango, Lihanda project, a road project, which was provided for and budgeted for, has been abandoned by the national government for 2-3 financial years? This is a fundamental question. This is a fundamental question. How we budget, how we collect revenue, and how we implement budgets. Out there, people talk about on-source revenue, On-source revenue, if you have counties where at the very inception there was really nothing in place that you can say will be able to enable the county government to generate on-source revenue, then you begin to realize where you are. And contextualize this with what is happening in the world economy and how nationally our economy is being run. That context is also very important. And it is a fact that Kenya as a country, we are deeply in debt. What is the consequence of that debt? Is that the national government is very enthusiastic whenever there is sharing of revenue to say that the Constitution provides that the first charge on revenue collected nationally is for payment of debt. Debts which are incurred without our participation, and I think the speaker also referred to it. We're in debt. We have an economy, a national economy, which is being poorly run. A national economy where there's a lot of experimentation instead of serious business of running an economy. What does it mean? In consequence is that other than the debt burden, and we were told before the elections that we are greatly in debt and we are going to stop borrowing, the national government keeps on borrowing and borrowing and piling debt on debt. That is the context in which we are dealing with. When you think about the major development plans we have and how we're going to implement it, you look at the rate at which the shilling is falling. And our friends are saying that President Uhuru Kenyatta artificially protected the Kenyan shilling. He put it at an artificial rate. But looking back, you can see economic sense. If at all it was happening, you can see the economic sense. Because the value of the Kenya shilling against the dollar is a function on how we can use our revenue that we collect in carrying out major capital activities. But as it is, we keep on borrowing and borrowing. But counties, cannot borrow. We don't have that luxury. And if you are to borrow, you've got to go through legal processes that I guess sometimes is not worth the while. I think under the former governor of Laikipia, he tried to borrow in the scheme of things as provided in the Constitution, but it was killed and stopped on its track. As we are talking today, the country called Kenya is not going to get any better. Sometimes I like Nyerere. Nyerere used to go, "Wambia wa Tanzania, munalia, lakini hali halisi ambao mnalilia itakuwa mbaya zaidi." So most of the time he was preparing the Tanzanians for a bad turn of events. We have seen many governments in place in Kenya now. We've got that experience. I do not see a solution, a national solution to our economic problems, nationally, especially when you look at all the economic parameters and how a national government which is commanded by the Constitution to make sure that there is money provided for the counties to perform their functions. The words of the Constitution is that funds must follow functions. And that answer is contained in the CIDP in chapter 5, that we must go out there to seek investment. Because with 2 billion shillings, that cannot do a 30-kilometer road in any part of Sierra. So we got to look for investment, and we must have bankable projects. And these conversations, we must continue to have them in a sober and factual and passionate manner in order to address the problems that are facing us, which one of them in this county is the disease burden. The disease burden in Sierra is heavy compared to other counties. Some of it which we cannot help, like malaria. We live in a malaria-prone area. Our HIV infection is very high comparatively in national terms. But I can say that Sierra government, through the programs we have reduced the HIV infection, mother to child, to below 5%. We are doing in mother to child infection, we are scoring better than the national average, which I think is something to cheer about. We have to go out there and seek investments. And when you're seeking investments, you must create an enabling environment for investors to consider your county as a destination. And we do not need to be partners with the national government necessarily. We can go out there and seek investments for this county. And I've had a trip to Cairo and to India, started certain conversations that I think if we created the enabling environment in Sierra, we can be able to attract investments in this county. The money from the national government, your own money, tax money, which translates only to 2 billion shillings a year, cannot make us access the resources that we need to make a turnaround to our government.